have never been to Bible college, you absolutely must listen to these. You just must. I mean, I think one of the problems is, which is, by the way, the last reason that I think I would recommend listening to these or something like it, is that we need to know our heritage. I think we get so lost in our time and space that we do not remember that God is working out there. So when he's not working around us or we're discouraged, we forget that God is working out there and in the past and is preparing the future, and he's at work in all of those areas. And if you know your spiritual heritage, it's kind of like knowing your actual heritage. So, you know, my last name is a Jewish name, and I did research, and I know that my family was a Jewish community in Germany back in the 1400s, and actually when Martin Luther came along, half of the Kissinger clan went Lutheran, the other half remained Jewish, and the Lutheran clan eventually at different times came over to America. And so, you know, I am part of that church history, or my relatives are part of that, church history from the past. I think it's just good to know our heritage. It's especially good to know our spiritual heritage of what's going on, to realize that God is working. You know, I guess the problem for me, or a reason I got bit with this bug, is that I grew up in a community church, which was a Baptist type church, back in the early 1970s in Port Orford, Oregon, on the southern coast of Oregon. And that was a very fundamental church that, every other month on a Sunday evening or a Wednesday evening, there was a visiting missionary who came through to roll out his, snake skins and his poisoned arrows and his darts and his things that he got from being on the mission field attempting to give the gospel to around the world back in the 70s. I mean, at that church, we had people come through that knew the people who wrote a very good, you need to look it up it's actually on Amazon, which is a kind of an obscure movie, but called The Peace Child, and about how that in the 1970s, a group of missionaries went into Papua New Guinea, where headhunting and cannibalism was still going on in the 70s, and how that they won those tribes to the Lord. And just a great movie called The Peace Child. Look it up on Amazon. You can rent it. There was missionaries that came through our church back then that actually knew those folks, just different missionaries. It was just a great experience. So I got my appetite whetted for church history, mission work, those kind of things, by exciting, fascinating things. When I was a kid, wanting to be the kid who was running up there to be stupid enough to touch the poison arrow, but that really woke up in me a desire and a love for history and the exciting things that God was doing and is still doing in the world around us. So I think we really need to know our heritage. And I think that is a problem that in the modern kind of church culture, there is this movement, and I'm sure that it's got a name, but I just observe it going on, that kind of the New Testament and modern stuff is really the only thing that's there. And if it's past about 10 years, it's already old and doesn't need to be listened to, and doesn't need to be, considered in what we do in the church. And that is destroying us. I'm sorry. We need to know our biblical heritage, our spiritual heritage from the past. And I'm sorry, those old-time preachers from the 1800s and the early 1900s, and the Moody's and the Spurgeons and the R.A. Torreys and the E.M. Bounds and some of those men and women of the past, they had a powerful Christian faith that we would do well to learn. Okay, and so to throw them off with this modern postmodernism or whatever it is, and that's crept into the church, is just an absolute crime. It's a crime. We need to get back to reading those folks and learning about them and learning what they did. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Deep Bible study, consecration to God in confessing our sins, fasting and prayer are the things that have always powered the church, and they will be the things that always will power the church. So, Bruce Gore, let me say it again, church history. Just put in Bruce Gore, Gore, church history. Again, I think he's got some other theological stuff and some other things I'm coming up there. I am up to about the place of John Knox and he's especially interested in this, being a Presbyterian, in that era right there. And one last thing, I forgot to write it down on my notes here, but I'm going to say it. The other thing is that you will learn as you listen to church history how that the church has positively impacted, not just negatively impacted, yeah, we have, but positively, majorly impacted the world around us throughout the centuries, okay? Our modern government, as I'm learning right now, has somewhat of its roots in John Knox and some of the things that he had in reforms in Scotland that he was calling for, and in things like the Magna Carta, yes, but it's very much rooted in biblical principles, and the early founding fathers say that often, or will often acknowledge that sometimes of America, but we just go, nah, that isn't true, America. Oh, well, they said it, but that's not true, and then we try to come up with our own idea. We should be listening to them. Their fundamental beliefs have come from the idea of all of these foundational church stuff, and that is where we have gotten a lot of the things and our blessings here in America. And I think we need to know that so that we can tell people that I'm sorry, but the church has done more to help the world in America, and as much to help the world in America as any of the humanism in the world around us. Okay, I'm sorry. If you deny that, you're just digging your head into the sand and whatever. And yes, I am honest that, the church did become corrupt, and the church, or people who claim to be Christians, have done some pretty horrible stuff. I doubt their Christian faith, but, they still claim to be Christians, so I've got to own that and take it and denounce it. But that doesn't mean that we have not been faithful as a church to accomplish a lot, as we have been faithful to God in what we do. So, 9 years ago, church history, Bruce Gore, listen to it on the way to work or something. It will, in my opinion, strengthen your faith, along with give you some good information in your attempting to witness to the world around you. It's just a good foundational thing to know. So God bless you. I know I got all excited about this, and I took a little bit longer than usual. God bless you. You just have a great week, and may the Lord bless you.